So the way we're structuring this, first off, we're going to set the stage with core challenges and strategies, and then we'll deep dive in the second part into specific levers, value enhancement, and future-proofing when it comes to asset stability, when it comes to balancing the needs of the owner with the brand, and really, at the end of the day, ensuring long-term growth trajectory in terms of asset value. So, first and foremost, I'd like to start with Hassan. Yes? Let's start with the foundational aspect of this topic. What strategies most effectively align hotel owners' financial goals with brand operational requirements?
I think it's a very good question, and usually what aligns both strategic ones is the good start. So the good start is a clear understanding between both KPIs. I see KPIs. I think owners and operator must have very clear objective why they are there and what is I would say, the end of the route. Definitely, this comes in two words, but a very strong and articulated management agreement or any kind of agreement is the key for, I would say, a good honeymoon throughout the journey. The second one, it is as it comes on a yearly basis, you must have clear goals, and I said KPIs, and in the agreements normally you put an incentive for both parties. So when I mention about incentive for both parties, in the management agreement could be an incentive based to increase the number of fees based on performance. Likewise to the owner, I'd say, you know what, it is my brand delivery is exceeding perhaps a market brand. These are, I think, two sides incentive for both owners. Throughout the journey, must have very clear communication. I mentioned about aligning objectives, but from the communication point of view, is regular reviews, using market data, having strategized together, meeting together to ensure that we are on plan and facing and analyzing the performance of the particular property against the competitors. And most importantly is to ensure the brand value. Why you pick up this brand based or compared to another brand. So it must be a brand value either from the location or the strategic segmentation, and make sure from an owner point of view that when you have chosen this brand or agreed on that brand based on the recommendation of the brand, is really delivering on the promises. So I think these are the key points which aligns both financial and strategic from an owner point of view.
Thank you, Hassan. Samir, more from a portfolio perspective now, particularly in the current climate in which we exist. How do you balance risk and return in hospitality portfolios during periods of market volatility or periods that may precede areas of volatility?
Yes, I think when you talk about risk and return, you always talk about diversification. And this is a key factor in order to take into consideration, even if you are in the same country and in the same country under the same umbrella and the same ecosystem. But diversification in terms of different cities, different asset classes, different kind of operators, different target segments. So all these factors, they will play a role in terms of lowering your risk if anything happens, and in order to oversee the challenges that you will have on the operation.
Thank you very much. Siegfried, H-World operates across diverse regions. How do you approach asset stability across different markets, which have each their own economic environment and demand patterns that differ as well? How do you manage that?
Good point, and let me tell you, I'm proud and happy to represent the brands here, right, facing developers and owners and tell them how important a brand is and how much a brand can add value to any destination, to the owners and to the developers. Yes, we have experience over the last couple of years in this very dynamic market, which is the Middle East, and we have all seen some ups and some downs, and we all have learned as professionals to be much more flexible and adaptive to the different periods which we have faced in the couple of years. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about the different markets, yes, we are operating very successfully operations in Egypt, And of course, it cannot be handled in the same way like we operate in the GCC or like we operate in China or like we operate in Germany. It needs expertise. It needs strong local teams who has experience in managing properties, managing as well owners, because sure everyone knows we have different owners, and these are the key focus of every of our top executives, managing with the owner together assets, making sure in different periods of time we have different strategies. The top priority is keeping the communication with the owner up, specifically in crisis. Specifically in crisis, where we see the need of closer working with every owner and to balance between the bottom line and as well top line. Because the first reaction from every owner is, how do I protect my profit? Which is, by the way, the same target for an operator, right? And Hassan said, we have had HMAs in the last 20 years developed so much in the Middle East, which has been much more balanced, and towards giving an incentive to the operator if the profitability goes higher, right? And every operator has his plan, has his profit protection plan in place, and this is different to different markets, different situations, but I think we all have learned, all are we owners, asset managers, developers, how to deal with that.
You know, there's always the question of when a brand enters a new market, there is an initial pushback or hesitation from owners to take on that brand, simply because they're concerned about, well, how will that brand perform in this market, and how long will it take for the operator to understand the market, get to terms with, you know, the nuances, the cultural, the identity, the brand voice, how it should come across. So how do you tackle that, and particularly in Saudi Arabia, where, as I know, you're effectively aiming to penetrate on multiple fronts across different classes of brands? How do you navigate that, and how do you give confidence to the owners?
In Saudi, I think it's very clear. If you really want to develop in this part of the world, and especially in Saudi, with all the ambitions, with all this 100,000 of keys we're going to develop, you have to invest initially in the destination. Means you should have people on the ground who knows the market and knows how to deal with owners and get deals done. The way of getting deals done in Saudi Arabia, and I'm not telling a secret, is different to other parts of the world. Yeah. We have to know that, and you have to act accordingly. Otherwise, if you bring a specialist out of China or of Germany who has done hundreds of deals, bringing it here, the success rate will be much, much less, if ever. Of course, we are targeting as company as well, opening an office. You need to show commitment to the destination. And you need to be here with people who are known in the market, right? This is the key. And then adaptability, I'm talking about the brand standards, right? The Brötchen that we serve in our hotel in Hamburg is not the same like we say here in Riyadh. We have to adapt it, of course, right? So all this kind of elements we have developed, and every operator is doing the same. We have brand committees which are coming together with experts from the region, and it's not just a cookie cutter to bringing it from China back here or from Germany back here. It is not, right? So, but the collaboration with owners, I have to say, whatever we have seen, is very big, and ultimately I see the pride from every owner who says, I'm an owner of any brand, right? I'm here representing a brand, but it should remain like this. And the owner is expecting that you are defending the brand as well, right? Not just listening to an owner say, yes, I only want my Arabic bread on the breakfast. Well, if we are a German brand, and we are proud to be, we should have some Germanness in our brand standards and focusing on the guest expectations, right?
Some non-negotiables.
Well, is always a big, if I speak to Hassan and tell him not negotiable, he would say, I'm sure he's not so happy, but ultimately we need to show all the time the same. How much it costs and how much it brings is as basic as that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Hassan, would you like to add anything to this? Or?
No, I agree with him
Yeah.
because I started this.
Perfect, perfect.
Nicolas, let me add a bit
sure, sure.
from the owner perspective. When you have a new operator, I think it's always a challenge to tell the operator, you need to prove to me how you'll perform in this market since you don't have the experience. And this is where the operator, he needs to be, I think, more agile, a bit more agile. Give more incentive to the developer and to the owner, because it's always a challenge who will be the first one to try this operator in the market. And this is where the risk will come from a developer point of view. And then you will say, why do I need to go with an operator? I have 50 operators lining up that I can go with them and not take the risk with a new operator. And this is where the team, the brand itself, and convincing the developer that really you can make it, you can put certain KPIs on yourself, think outside a bit of the box, outside your HMA limitations than you can have, and really have this flexibility in order to prove that really you can make a difference. And this is, I think, on the operator side to really work it hard.
Makes total sense. And Samir, from the perspective of your market, Mecca specifically, Mecca is such a specialized hospitality market. The nuances, it's different from anywhere else in the world, anywhere else in the region, even different from Medina, to be honest. And how you manage inventory, how you manage seasonality, etc. The restrictions on movement as well. So I feel that there's a high barrier to entry for these new hotel operators that want to enter Mecca. And that there's always this prioritization of owners who are already well entrenched with existing operators in that region. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, I totally agree. And Mecca is a tough market. Not if you are in Saudi Arabia, it doesn't mean you'll be able to perform or to operate in a good manner in Mecca. It has its own challenges. It has its own cyclicalities. You need somebody that is experienced. And it has also its own ecosystem that you need to maneuver with. And this is where the risk will come with having a new operator or an existing operator. Like definitely, when you talk about new operator, you talk about something new. You are providing the customer a different experience, new target segment, maybe new feeder market that you can tap on. But at the end of the day, he needs to prove it that he can really operate in Mecca and differently from the other operators. And I think the big challenge is also from the corporate office of the operator that will be coming, and they need to really be in a position that they understand the market before entering into it, and not relying only on hiring a GM or a team that will lead them or will take them wherever he wants to be in terms of the performance of the hotel. Absolutely. So really the corporate team that is supporting this brand that you want to bring, it has to really acknowledge the market and understand the market, understand the dynamics, and then come to the developer.
Thank you,
If I
Samir.
can just add something on that.
Yes.
And what you rightly said, Saudi, I believe, has still a lot of space for different brands to come. Right? So if you see other destinations in the Middle East, they have shown in bringing a lot of different brands to the market to attract a total different feeder market.
Yep.
And whenever I speak to Saudi governments, ministers of tourism, they are looking into the years ahead, because whenever we design a hotel, we talk about 3 years to open, 4 years to open, depends the different size and depends the project. But I think Saudi as destination, look for more new brands, not always the same brands. This is a message I may allow myself to say here. We all know the success of Dubai, who has shown success based as well on that.
See, I agree with you on a nationwide level, but when it comes to the holy cities, that's where I see a bit more of a resistance to new brands.
I can chip in here.
Yes, please go ahead.
I think we have great experience within our company. We operate more than 2,000 keys in Mecca and equivalent in Medina. And of course, across Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, Tabuk, and Jabal. So we do have the various experiences. I think you mentioned about corporate team knowledge and management. I will go a little bit to the root, okay? Our teams from Mecca is from Mecca. So they know Mecca more than anyone else, and they know the seasonality of Mecca. and they know the wheeler dealer of Mecca. So this is the key for a success story. And I would say really our successful operation goes from the roots and of course goes up. We learn from them. You see, we learn from them. We're newcomers. Okay, well, we've been 10 years in the country, so we're not newcomers, but we learn from them, and of course, they seek guidance, and on the guidance, just to remain, I would say, ethical in the governance and doing the right thing. But however, they are the one who is delivering the authentic services. They are the one who is managing the other one, and all this collectively drive, I would say, the expected ROI meeting the shareholders. Equivalent, the same is for Medina. Okay, I say, yes, you can bring somebody from Mecca to work in Medina and vice versa. They still serve the same purposes. But still, Medina is slightly different, Mecca is slightly different.
Yes.
And ideally, and my recommendation to anyone who wants to start operation in this area, seek from the local. Don't come and steal our employees, but seek from local market. They have the knowledge and they have the know-how.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hassan. Joao, I'd like to talk about the asset management perspective and specifically the monitoring of KPIs. Which KPIs do you prioritize when you monitor health, especially during periods of volatility?
So I think someone said once that without data, you're just a person with an opinion, and I think I'd like to paraphrase that. So information and data is key. I mean, wherever you are in the world. I just wanted to comment on something that has been mentioned. I think whereas you want to localize a lot, and you should, obviously, the operating teams need to make a difference. Otherwise, it's not the one size fits all. It's actually part of our slogan in the new company we just created is one size fits one. Right?
One size fits one.
One size fits one. But with regards to methodology, methodology of how we analyze assets, whether it's in China or in New York, or it's very much the same. We need to follow and we need to be currently looking into those KPIs, right? And you need to have the methodology right. So I think in moments like the ones we live today, they are as difficult as any other moments. Let us not be fooled. I don't think this is particularly a more difficult moment than it was a year back.
I agree with you.
So we just have the same methodology. So we're currently looking at summer. What we know of the markets, we know summers are never easy, so we will look at STR, I think probably the most relevant one. But what starts very important, especially from a total revenue perspective.
Absolutely.
Right? STR still only gives us the fair share, which is, in the end of the day, on those two KPIs, very, very relevant. But we've made mistakes putting pressure on operators to diversify the segmentation in previous summers. And then when we found ourselves more towards a transient, and the hotel realized very early that being more risk taker was going to give them a lower base on your F&B, and the cost of commissions was really not paying off. So sometimes we gotta be just take the risks as well. But so those I would say, I think the on the books, how much do you actually have on the books? And in the summer, you really want to look into that very closely. And yeah, so I mean, yeah.
I can add a little bit
Yes,
to
please
it.
go ahead, Hassan.
I believe in nowadays you have the new tools, okay, call it the business intelligence tools. And these tools can create a dashboard where everybody manages the dashboard properly. I think from asset manager to an owner to an operator himself. Numbers do not fake it, you see what I mean? When Phil comes on board and explains SCR, we all time benchmark why the market is doing 60% and I'm doing 1 point less or 2 point less ADR, et cetera, et cetera. So we do recommend, and to really master it properly, is that people have used the business intelligence report. There are many smart products in the market. Of course, operators have their own systems, but make use of it. If you don't make use of it, you cannot leverage on it, and this is my advice.
We have invested. We have several hats, as you know. United Hospitality Management, Trilight as an asset management. Yotel is a brand that the group owns. IFA is at the same time investor. So sometimes my life is a bit confusing. Where do I stand? But we have recently developed a tool called BIRD, and it's an Intel tool that we, United Hospitality, will provide to the third-party hotels that they will operate.
An external-facing tool?
Yes, so it's going to be a free tool that the asset managers, the hotel, so it's a dashboard where you can see everything. It's going to be collecting information from Opera, from STR, from all the different sources. I ask sometimes how many of those people are actually seeing those dashboards.
Good.
Hassan, I'd like to move more towards specific levers when it comes to managing difficult times, specifically in relation to periods where you have high interest rates and also some tighter liquidity in general. What financial levers, generally, can owners utilize to preserve that asset value without cutting into the operating standards?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to look to the financial model and to see how you can optimize it. So assuming they are taking a loan, go and negotiate preferential terms with the banks. This is, I think, the first thing we can do. If not feasible, I think you can do another two models. One is reschedule the loans, so this will, I would say, ease the burden on the cash flow, or again, go and search for somewhere else, you know, on other one, or consolidate other debts if you have with other one. I think this is the first one is on the burden of this one. But the other side of the equation is how you optimize the results. So really teaming up with the operator directly. Say, first of all, the top line. How you can maximize top line. Am I getting my fair market share in the, yes or not? If I'm getting market share, I can be smarter than my competitor by leveraging on, I would say, season, segmentation, using the brand data and going right to the right customer or high-yielding customers. I think revenue management is a key for this particular element, and is no secret between the operator and the asset manager is to leverage on this. Second element from it is there are other assets available in each property which are not utilized or will be half utilized. And in my previous school, I used to call it the treasure hunt. Go and treasure hunt every single square meter on the property and making really, we call this sweat the asset. Starting with your food and beverage and optimize your food and beverage operation, health, etc., which you know about it. And recently we all know about the cloud kitchen, which could set a small base and serve the neighborhood. So actually, all is linked to revenue. Second one is manage more cost efficient without, not at the detriment of the brand. Okay, there is a limit with it. So guests would like to have value for money. So you really manage the limit and the level between decreasing your rate without, I would say, affecting the brand value. Because I'm coming for a brand. I'm booking a particular brand. I have my own expectation. They should not limit, and this will help also the operator to maintain the consistency with the brand delivery. But again, I've been on the other side and been a part of the brand, and I can go fancy, and here we need to come and say, okay, is this really needed, or can meet this particular market need or particular period? So the flexibility and agility between both owners and the operator during this distress period is really key, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Joao, a crucial component of this relationship between the owner and the brand is obviously the management agreement, which is the majority of cases in the Middle East currently. So how important is flexibility in HMAs today?
They're not flexible. So I think because of that, because you're signing an agreement that is not that flexible, I think franchise has been growing substantially. I'm sure most brands will already provide a franchise option. From our perspective, I mean, we converted almost all our HMAs to franchise, and we see more value in that. And I think the third-party operator combination has been proven to be a good 15% or so more profitable. So assets will. And from a finance perspective, I think if you ask, In the US, a bank will actually give more value to a property that is unencumbered, right? So that is having the brand, but as on a franchise, so they can eventually replace the third-party operators. So flexibility is very important, and I think all the brands have that top of mind today.
Yeah. And would this conversion from HMA to franchise happened regardless of your strategy to enter the operations field?
Was probably connected. It was probably connected, but yeah. But that's I think the natural education of owners, right? They start with HMAs, and eventually, as they get educated, they also understand. You know what? Actually, I can do better than the operator.
Right.
I still want the brand. I still want their distribution channel. They do add value there. We do not believe in hotels without brands today, because first their OTA commission is going to be. I will see that on the bottom line, right? And then the brand.com, and congratulations to all the operators that have understood that. And it's a wake-up call for all the others that they need to really put effort in getting brand.com to work.
Yeah.
We have both models. We have HMAs and we have HFAs, and trust me, it's not easy to choose when you want to go. We would prefer the HFAs, but every destination, every property has its own according to the brand needs. So if you select a particular brand, we trust the operator that they will deliver exactly on brand at the beginning of it. So franchise is the happy medium between both if you are starting up anew. If you have long-term HMA, it is maybe, as Joe mentioned, easier to convert from HMA to HFA because the property is well established and owners have the knowledge.
So what do you think about the strategy of, by default, starting off with HMAs, always having an option to flip to franchise, and depending on the asset performance, deciding to flip? I mean, why fix it if it ain't broke? So if there's an HMA in place and the asset is outperforming, by any means, keep it as such.
Yes,
there's no more reaching for the stars.
Yeah, but we need from
needed.
the operator the flexibility from the beginning in order to accept this flipping. And if you look at the HMAs themselves, they are very rigid and strict, and you have termination clause, and you have a lot of clauses that you feel that the operator is not really confident about the performance of what we can do, because the HMAs are made in order to really protect the operator. We don't see any let's say, new ideas about the HMAs, or for example, somebody will come and tell you, okay, I will be working on an incentive fee. I won't take a base fee, for example, and from an HMA perspective.
Yeah.
So this is where I think a lot of work needs to be done on the side of
Makes sense,
the operations.
I think Samir should speak to me. But nevertheless, what you said, flexibility is key. That you said profit protection is key. The only thing I would like to mention is the guest focus experience. Right? We should have in mind whatever we cut, if that touches the guest experience, that is a negative and it's a loss for almost everyone. And whenever I speak to the governments and I speak to ministers, and the only thing they have in mind, please make sure that the experience from a customer in your property is premium, no matter 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5 stars, but it needs to be premium. So cost cutting, yes, profit protection, yes, but please remain in mind the customer is here to enjoy the destination.
And has expectations, absolutely. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, thank you all for your amazing contributions. Thank you. I think we've really touched on a lot of different topics, super crucial, different aspects, different angles of how to navigate volatility, how to maintain that asset value, how to balance the relationship between brand and owner. It's been super fascinating. So really, thank you very much. And please,
Thank you.
A hand for our panelists.